This is Rock and Roll Grad School with your hosts, Professors Heidi Hedquist and Luke Poling. And yeah, they don't pay their TAs enough.
Hello, kiddies. We're going to have a good time together. Or should we say we're going to be grooving together?
I think we should say we're going to be grooving.
Yeah, you like how I did that? Worked it in?
That was well done. We should actually be grooving often.
Really, more often than we do.
Yeah, I agree.
Because as you know, people got to be free.
Indeed, they do.
We are talking with Felix Cavaliere from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Rascals, who has a new memoir out.
Yes, indeed.
And it covers all of your favorite stories and more.
Yeah, he's got some really good stories.
And he was in a good mood. He was a fun hang.
He was a super fun hang. Some great philosophies on life.
You guys talked about yoga for a while.
We did.
I was able to go get a sandwich. It was great. It
was perfect. What more could we want?
Everybody wins.
Everybody wins. No, it's definitely a good listen.
So here is what I wanted to ask you. Are you familiar with the website? I believe it's pronounced Verbo.
Yes.
It's sort of an Airbnb, but not. So I keep getting this ad shared to me on Instagram, and I'm going to hold this up to the camera. I want you to look at this house and tell me, do you recognize it?
No.
Okay, so, and it just says on the bottom, private vacation home in Saugerties, find the perfect escape with plenty of space for your entire family to relax and reconnect. So they show this house and they say, go hang out with your family. So I was looking at it. I was like, this looks really familiar. And then I did a little.
I mean, the image, first of all, is not it doesn't appear to be the front of the house. It appears to be
it is not correct.
The garage with a side door.
Right.
So they've deliberately not given you the front. So is it the Amityville house?
Nope. So where would that door that you see there in the bottom lead to?
The basement.
Exactly. So that house is Big Pink.
Ah.
Where Dylan and the band recorded the basement tapes, and the band wrote all of the music for Big Pink.
I see.
Now
not
this is
a basement at all.
No, a quite musical basement.
Yes.
Now this house is available on Verbo. Yeah, I've seen photos on other sites saying like, oh, Big Pink is now a B&B. You can go stay there. What's the basement look like? It's a little bit different. They've replaced the furnace, but you can stand there and be like, this is where they recorded all these songs. Nowhere in that ad does it say there's something really cool that happened in this house that you might want to be around.
But I think that's deliberate.
Is it?
Well, they probably want.
If you sent me a picture of that house and said, do you want to stay there for the weekend? I would say, no, not on your life. If you sent me a picture of that house and said, this is where the band live and Dylan hung out and they wrote, The Weight and This Wheel's on Fire, suddenly I'm a little more interested. Tell me more. Is there a discount coupon I can use?
Of course, you would still want the discount coupon.
I'm a couponer. What do you want?
I'm a loyalty clubber, not a couponer.
Interesting. So your key ring is just overrun with barcodes.
Now it's my phone. But but what if they thought they'd get like an onslaught of crazy rabid music fans and maybe they just want to control, and they figure people who really know, like you knew enough and were enough of a fan to go, this looks familiar, and figured it out. So they only want the smart super fans to figure it out.
Maybe I simply read a certain level of Dylan nerds online.
Right.
That it is just taken as gospel and it's written, well, that's Big Pink. That's what you want to go stay there. I just feel like you could have a full course meal off of just Dylan nerds wanting to go stay there, to say nothing of your band nerds. Speaking of which, there's a great Twitter account, and this has nothing to do with anything, of a woman I think she's in San Francisco, who is obsessed with the band and has started a Richard Manuel archive.
That's amazing.
All stuff of his life and his work and everything, a complete aside. But let's say you were a Richard Manuel completist. you want to go stay there. You want to go stay where Levon Helm, you want to go see where Levon Helm and Rick Danko are buried. It's right nearby.
Makes sense.
I say we've got the better service than Airbnb. No offense, Airbnb, we are available for sponsorship. Than to say, do you want to stay at Big Pink? Much as if you were listing the Amityville house, to use your example, on, let's say, Airbnb, you would be like, who wants to stay in the Amityville house? People don't stay at the Lizzie Borden house because it's got a really nice view and the breakfast is supposed to be great.
I agree, but I think it depends on, perhaps these particular people are not music fans. They just have a spare house they want to rent.
These people don't exist.
No, these people exist. A lot of these people exist.
I
If
don't
these
believe
people
that.
didn't exist, our show would have way bigger numbers.
That's true.
Because everyone would get it, and then there'd be no purpose for us. So
right. I was just very confused by the because I was staring at it going, that's Big Pink, right? And then started to do that thing when I saw Sunvolt 20 years ago, and I got there early. I was right up front. And all of a sudden I look to the side of the stage because I'm so close, I could see into the wings. And I look over and go, oh my God, that's Roger McGuinn. And then he ended up coming out and doing a song with them. But for that entire section of the encore, when he wasn't on stage, my first thing was, oh my God, that's Roger McGuinn.
Right.
And then I spent the rest of that being like, is it Roger McGuinn? It is. Like, my first knee-jerk reaction was Guy from the Birds without the weird little glasses, but that's him.
Right.
And then I spent 20 minutes being like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just, in the excitement of,
The moment.
Right. Is that Chris Hillman and his afro? No. Is it, is it Gene Clark? No, it's not Crosby. I'm just saying, I doubt myself sometimes.
I understand. We're working on that.
1, 2, 3. Good love. Good love. Good love. Good love. I was feeling.
Congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
Some people don't like going back into their history to write these. You hear musicians being like, I don't want to dig all this up. Did you have that problem, or did you enjoy the process of pulling these stories together?
I completely understand that. It's difficult to speak about yourself for 3 years. It's really. I'll tell you what happened real briefly. In 2013, the original Rascal members, we did a kind of like a Broadway show called Once Upon a Dream.
Mm-hmm.
And during that period of time, we were asked to do press conferences. Well, I noticed that every single one of us had a different answer for the same questions. And I said to myself, wait a second. Did Custer really win or lose that battle? We don't know.
Right.
Everybody had a different answer. And I said, I think it's important for my sanity that I at least put down my story, so to speak. So it started off with this type of endeavor to, tell what I thought without any alternative truths. And then it said, wait a second, when I look back at the clock and the time, I've been here for a long time. Only 5 to 6 years of my life was Del Rascals. How about the rest of my life? Right. And that's how this happened. Seriously. And it started to be like, wow, it's been quite a road, and fortunately, it's the book keeps we keep adding chapters to it, which is good.
Yeah, I was wondering, but they say, if you can remember the 60s, you weren't really there.
Exactly.
Did you have to do a lot of research on yourself to remember, oh, I was here, we were doing this, I did that, like the order in which it all happened? Or, I know in the book, there's stories about Jimi Hendrix and all these other people whose paths you sort of crossed.
It really comes rather easily, except for the actual fine details,
Mm-hmm.
They because of interviews, such as this, I've kind of repeated the same stories over and over and over. So, they've embedded in my brain. And, the interesting thing is that I'm guilty of the same situation. When we do our live show, people like to hear stories, for example, of how the songs were created, et cetera, et cetera. So you kind of manufacture these stories that sound real cute on stage. You know? Now, did that really happen? I think so. You know,
Sure.
I don't know, but it sounds good. You know,
Yeah.
So I mean, it's all in the entertainment world. You know, so I tell you the truth. Though, really, it's a lot of work for any of you who have written a book. I really admire John Grisham, Stephen King, and these people. I don't know how they do it.
How they do it either. And like you said, it's really hard when you're talking about yourself,
Right.
because you got to come
It
out
was.
and be, confident and be yourself and tell all the great things you've done while still being, it's just, I don't know how you do it.
Well,
And-
it's the same as a marriage that has a divorce,
Right.
I mean, which part of the story would you really want to hear? Would you want to hear
Right.
the good part? Would you want to hear the bad part? That's the interesting part, is what to say and what not to say.
So have you heard from anyone who pops up in the book going, that's not how it went? This is how it
Well,
went.
they haven't read it yet. I'll
Yeah.
let you know.
Yeah, let me know. What was the thing you were most excited to share? What was the thing you couldn't wait to get down on paper?
Well, interestingly enough, that's a really good question, because, I had the really good fortune of studying with a guru all those years. And, I really feel like, when we, meaning anybody who's kind of in the entertainment world, have an opportunity to speak, either through our music or, through, words, you like to kind of tell people the good things about your life. And that was really a good thing about my life. I met this gentleman. He was the man who opened up the Woodstock festival. He changed my life, seriously, from head to toe. And that's really the part that I really wanted to emphasize, is the effect that he made on my life.
That's amazing. What do you think people will take from that?
Well, I think, they can see from me right now. I'm 79 years old, and with all due respect, knock on wood, I can still sing, I can still walk, I can still entertain. Yoga had a lot to do with that, and the philosophies of keeping your body and your mind healthy. I used to really spend a lot of time with him, because I was like, I was really a disciple, but I was also very, very, very fortunate to have a close relationship with this man, who was amazing. He was an amazing guy. And I would ask, he would tell the same things to people, no matter what their problem was, whether it was a mental problem or physical problem. He would tell them, which basically is like the tenets of yoga. You basically, you change your diet, you change your actions, you kind of like, you learn how to do exercises, you learn how to meditate. And I'd say, how come you tell everybody the same thing? He says, because it works.
Yeah, because it's what you need to do.
and it really works. He was in his late 80s, and he was perfectly functional as far as his body, and that's not the case with a lot of people who are my age. My old group is a perfect example.
Are you tired of talking about the Rascals? Because like you said, that was such a small portion of your life and your career, even. That
I hear a lot of people, like, for example, like you had the old famous Ricky Nelson story, like I went to a garden party. I understand what people, want to hear when I go, play a concert. I get it. I understand. It's not about me, it's about, if the audience wants to hear that, if the people in the interview want to hear that, I'll talk about it. The difficult part is telling the good parts of the story without the bad parts of the story, because unfortunately, the bad parts of the story leads to a lot of trouble, not only just hurt feelings, that's bad enough, but I'm talking about litigation and, things that I purposely kind of left that out of the book, because first of all, I don't think anybody really wants to hear that, but it's kind of a sad story, our story. It really is. The beginning, the middle, and then the end, and then the aftermath. I don't like it.
Well, that's hard, because one of our producers and I were just talking, and your music, it's like summer. Like you instantly feel like it's sunny and you're warm and you're happy.
That's it.
And so you don't want to hear the bad stuff. You want to
You don't
just
wanna
be
hear
on that beach, rocking out and having a good time.
All I have to do if I want to hear bad stuff is turn on the news.
Well,
And
yeah, we got-
oh boy,
Yeah.
we got plenty of it now, don't we?
Yes, we do.
You know, and so you want to come to hear the news? No, I don't think so. You
No.
want to come and have a good time, be joyous, you know, and you know, it's kind of like the way the Southern churches, you know, do their, you know, and like the New
Yeah.
Orleans people, when somebody passes, you know, the first part of it is sad, and then they rock, you know,
Right.
and it's that part of life, the joyous joie de vivre, as they say, that, you know, thank God I've always had that, you know, and I feel sorry for people who don't have that in there. You know, we have had tragedy in our lives, all of us. But if you have the good fortune of being positively safe as a kid, you bring that to the world, you know. And I really feel badly for these people in Ukraine. Can you imagine? I mean, I can't even imagine what the heck that feels like, you know, to go on about that. I have a lot of friends, Israeli friends, and people whose families, I can't even imagine what those people
No.
are going through.
No.
So anyway, I try to bring the positive, the plus.
Well, and to that end, and to talk about some of your other work outside of the Rascals, something I think a little more upbeat. We interviewed Steve Cropper about a year ago, and
Oh,
we
yes.
like to consider him a close personal friend of the show. I think he likes to consider us two idiots who spent 20 minutes with him.
We spent more
Somewhere-
time with us than that. Half
Yeah.
hour.
Half hour, somewhere between the two.
Yeah.
What was it like working with him? What's that relationship like? Because you guys have done a few records together now.
Yeah. Well, I've known Steve since the Atlantic days. You know, he was part of the Stax world, and
Right.
you know, it's interesting. It started with, of course, the fact that you know, he had Booker T, an organ player, that he was part of, and of course, that was my instrument as well. And then what happened was one day, you know, Atlantic was a very small company in the old days. You know, it was really like very interesting because the studio, the mastering, the secretaries, and the hierarchy were all on the same floor.
Yeah.
They were all on the same, I wouldn't even call it a building, it was a floor. And so there was a really symbiotic kind of like relationship between this room where the music was being made and that room where the decisions were being made. Well, we did this song called Groovin'. Before we ever even got it out into the marketplace, Mr. Cropper brought it to his band, the Booker T, and said, we're going to do an instrumental version of this. So now we're on the same page.
Right.
You know?
It's amazing.
And they made such great music, and we've always, you know, liked and respected them. And then as the years went by, I moved to Nashville, Tennessee, which is where I reside right now. Well, Nashville, Tennessee is really Music City. You know, I mean, it's kind of changed right now. I don't know if you're aware of it. We're the #1 bachelorette capital
Oh,
of
yes.
the United States. So if you have any prayers, please say them for us, because
Yeah.
we're gonna need
Yes.
them. But in the
I had to go to
meantime-
one of those. Whew.
Well, you did down here,
Oh, yeah.
so you know, and you made it back alive. Well, good for you. Yeah.
Because I was able to listen to some great music and kind of veer off and not be
Yeah,
part of
it's gotten really out of hand down here. But I mean, the you know, and I tell this story a lot, but I like to say it again because your viewers may not have heard this. When I first moved here, some people come up to me and said, "Hey, you know, there's a bank over there that caters and helps out songwriters, publishers, and musicians." I said, "No, you're kidding." He said, "Yeah." He says, "There's a whole department there just for that purpose." I said, "Wow, it's just like New York. Only New York, the department was called the Exit." And you know,
Yeah.
I felt welcomed the first time we got. They actually know what we do. That's what we do, you know. And so, a friend of mine moved from Manhattan here, and he's one of these fellows that he doesn't drive, you know, because not a lot of people in New York have never driven in their life, you know. So he said, why don't you guys come over to my house and, you know, let's do some writing. Well, he brought Steve over and he brought me over, and we started making what we consider to be demos, you know, songwriting demos. And then he said, why don't we go get a record deal? And I said, why don't you go and get the record deal? We were
Right.
really not interested. We were really not interested. You know, we've done our thing with that, you know, and, you know, it's a young man's game pretty much. I mean, you know, the kids, the young people, they buy the products for the most part, and they want to buy their peers. But I said, okay, we'll do it. So that's how that happened. And it's interesting working with Steve because, you know, I mean, I can tell you a little bit about it because, you know, I like technology, you know, I like, you know, like the new, like, for example, what we're doing here, you know, I mean, we wouldn't have been able to do this. So I brought the technology to the studio and he freaked out.
Oh, I bet. I bet he was like, what is this? What's happening right now?
He freaked out. I said, no, check this out, man. We can, you know, we don't even need a drummer right now, man. I got all these drummers right here, you know. Oh man. So it was really an interesting, you know, kind of like relationship that, you know, with all due respect, you know, I understand that process, but this is pretty interesting what we have today with the internet and the computers.
It is.
It's really
and in talking to a lot of fellow musicians and legends like yourself, you know, it's weird, but thank God for the technology coming through these past couple of years, because it's allowed people to record together in different parts of the world and get in the same room.
Very well put, because that's exactly what happened to me. I was starting an album and I was, you know, trying to finish a book and we couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
But I was able to do it this way.
Yeah. It's amazing. That's
Well,
awesome.
it's almost like a miracle. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, seriously, I mean, I don't know how much you do know about, you know, the music computer technology of today, but I mean, I have right here on this keyboard over here, I've got the Mormon Tabernacle Choir right here on my fingertips.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm serious. That's right here, sitting right here. I don't have to hire anybody.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. I can only imagine if Beethoven and people like that had something like this, we wouldn't be able to believe it. Although they did pretty well. So
yeah, they did pretty well. They're still on heavy rotation.
Yes,
so
did pretty well.
Yeah, still have some fans out there.
Yes,
Ludwig and the guys.
You've been writing and recording for so long. Do you still enjoy it? Do you still get a kick out of it?
Oh yeah.
You ever surprise yourself as you're writing stuff? You're like, oh, this is pretty good. Or
Well,
how do you know
always
you've
think
got
it's
something?
good, you know, I mean, you always think it's good. If you don't think it's good, you know, like, you know, it's, you know, it's that old, you know, positive energy versus negative energy. You know, like if you don't think it's good, nobody else is going to think it's good.
Right.
But you know, there's a joy in writing that, you know, can you imagine? I mean, if they told Picasso and people like that, well, you're 60 years old now, stop painting. No, I mean, you know, that's not right, because look at all the work we would have lost. Well, if it was up to the industry, that's what would happen. You know, you go off to pasture, you know. But because of the technology and because of the fact that this town is really based around songwriting, I've been able to continue and continue to write. And I really enjoy it. And you meet a lot of people that way. You know, you meet a lot of fellow writers that way. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you just make a good friend, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But Nashville is has in the past very open to collaboration. That's one of the good things about it. You know, you don't have to, well, you know, you didn't used to have to make an appointment and get on a schedule. You know, you just meet someone, you know, socially. Why don't we write together? You know, and it happens.
Yeah, see, that is something that's so magical and so rare, and you don't find it in other cities.
It is, especially, you know, coming from New York and, you know,
right, because everyone's so protective of their stuff. No one wants to, and it's so much.
Well, that's
more
another thing, you know. When I
together.
came down here, they got this place called the Bluebird. You know, have you heard of the Bluebird? It's like where everybody goes and plays their songs. And the first time I went there, I noticed people writing down all their ideas.
Like, oh, I'm gonna take that one.
That's what's going on here.
Now we know.
Get it. Now I get it.
And you're about to, or are you out on the road? No, you're about to head out on the road, correct?
Well, we're getting back, you know, because of, you know, the COVID here. We've had a lot of cancellations and a lot of postponements and a lot of, you know, I had many shows with the Beach Boys and they all kind of passed, and I ended up doing one or two. And it was really interesting because the last time I worked with them, we really had some very serious conversations, you know, like it was right after Rolling Stones drummer passed.
Oh,
Mm.
yeah, after
Yeah.
Charlie.
And it was really
Yeah.
interesting because, we're the same generation, and all of a sudden, the reality, wow, that's one of the family there, and
Yeah.
so we really had to, with Mike Love and with Bruce Johnson, we really spent a lot of time. A lot of times, they like ships passing in the night when you go to do concerts with others.
Right.
They really don't, communicate that much. We spent a lot of time, very interesting.
Well,
I
it's
like
interesting you
that.
say that, because I think it was Pete Townsend from The Who when saying, well, people always talk about the great loss of somebody like Hendrix or these other musicians, and he was saying, yeah, but they're all my friends. Like, these are people who
Right.
are personal to me, and I'm sure
Right.
someone like Charlie
Right.
Watts and other bands like that, these are all people you've had relationships with, either large or small, but you've been in each other's lives for a bit. And it's got to be,
But not only that, but the public feels that way also. I mean,
Right.
many
Certainly,
of
yeah.
my generation, they really know who the Stones are or were,
Oh,
and even though they've never met them, it's family, it's really, that's the beauty of my generation. I'd say our generation, but you guys look so young. God bless you.
oh no.
Thank you.
There's and the other side of the room, it's all the yoga, but and good lighting and technology of good lighting. But speaking of like owning ourselves, I normally am set up in the living room of my home, and I have the focal point of my living room is a giant picture of Keith Richards. And
Oh,
I
really?
tell
Wow,
everyone
yeah.
that he's always with me. So we're
There
with
you go.
you.
So then it's really interesting. But
And we were very excited to talk to you. So it goes far beyond the Stones. So,
but that communication was part of our generation, because we did not have the social media and the internet and the Instagram and the craziness that brings. We had each other's music, and I do this on stage. I say this, it's a pleasure to play and sing for people who really know and feel that time, because we were all connected by the radio, by the events. We wrote songs about our existence, for want of a better word, love affairs or divorces or whatever. It came out in the music, whereas now, wow, it's pretty scattered.
And there's a reason, I think, and I'm sure you see it at your shows, generations of families, people who grew up with these records and played them for their kids, and just the strength in what you were writing then had that durability to last till today and beyond.
yeah.
Which I'm sure you weren't writing it with that. Like,
a lot of events have happened, and I don't know if people realize, that music is really a very powerful medium. All over the world, I had this gentleman one time, I was working, I believe it was up near Albany, New York. And it was an outdoor show. And this fellow came up to me and he said, "Can I speak to you for a minute?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." He said, "Look, I want you to have these." And he gave me his dog tags. And I said, "Man, what is that about?" He says, "You saved my life." And I said, "Oh, really? What happened? What is this?" He said, "Well, I was in Vietnam. I was in the Navy ships that go up the Mekong Delta to pick up the wounded. And you all were on Hullabaloo." And I said to the captain, I said, "You mind if I not take this boat? Because I want to see the Rascals on Hullabaloo." And that boat was destroyed.
Oh my God.
wow.
Wow.
Well, when somebody tells you that face to face, you just go, "Oh."
And
Well,
gives
I
you
still
their
have
dog
those, by the way.
tags. Yeah.
I still
oh
have
my
them.
gosh.
And, like you hear stories like that, you say, "I see. Okay. Yeah. We're all brothers and sisters."
And I'm sure these songs reaching people in ways you never imagined them doing it, and having that resonance that you never saw coming.
You don't know that, but again, through the guru and through the people that you meet that are on a kind of like a different level, you realize, the power of words, the power of music. Be careful what you say, because you're going to affect people, and you can affect them this way, you can affect them that way, but if you want to affect them here, you gotta speak from here. So here to here is right there, and that sunk in,
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's an amazing world. You go to Japan, they don't know what we're talking about. But man, they know the songs and they know the
Right.
words and they know the music, And I had one guy come up to me. This guy says, "I want to be your son."
Like, oh, okay. Well,
I said, "Wow, how cool!" They're just so joyous, man. They hear the music and they're like little children almost.
yeah.
Wow, I love this. I love this. I loved it. You can't manufacture that. That's what it's all about.
Well, and that is the beauty of a song too. I mean, we're great lovers of film and all the arts and all of it, but there's something about a song that in such a short time frame, you can have such a connection to that music and everyone you're with. And I think it happens faster than any other form of art.
Well, I agree. When we were pre-MTV, and when MTV came out, although it really kind of spurred, the interest in the music business again after the disco era, a lot of people were disappointed in the video version of their imagination.
Right.
Yeah.
I liked it better in my brain than on your screen, and that says it all right there. Like I'm much more adventurous in my brain than you are with your screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know I want to be cognizant of your time, and I really appreciate you giving us so much. But every night when you're out on stage, is there one song that you still love playing? You still love looking out and watching people's faces as you're playing on?
Well, yeah, I mean, but they're all like that. It depends. The fact that we're human beings as well on this side of the microphone. So, like for example, like if you're dealing with, like we just came back from Florida, and wow, it's a beautiful morning out there. You know what I'm saying? I think I'll go out, that resonates,
Right.
And then of course, when you turn on the horrible news that's going on there, you realize people really have to be free. They really got to be free. This is time for, I was reading a lady that somebody from Mississippi, I think her name was Fannie, Hamer. She said in her writings, nobody's free until everybody's free.
It's true.
And you think about that,
That's very true.
But I mean, here we are 2022 and, have we really progressed? I think so. Although I tell you the truth, I'm really not sure, in some ways, we have. In some ways it's pretty bad, and I really can't figure that out because I'm just going to have to do a little thinking about that.
All the world over so easy to see. People everywhere just wanna be free. Listen, please, listen, that's the way it should be. Peace in the valley, people got to be free.
Memoir of a Rascal, the autobiography of Felix Cavaliere, is available right now. For more information and to see where he's playing this spring on tour with Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees, check out his website, felixcavalieremusic.com.
You can check us out on all the various socials. Be sure to visit our website at rockandrollgradschool.com, and don't forget to leave us a review.
Today's show is produced by myself and Heidi Hedquist. Our reluctant producers are John Sauvé and Sandy Stone. Our willing producers are Rachel Allen and Randy Jeanette. Our intern is Zach Jackson. This one's for Philippe. Thank you, good night, and may all your favorite bands stay together.
Wanna